Hi, my name is Calvin Coleman, and I'm the Executive Director of the National Cybersecurity Alliance. Thank you so very much for joining us for today's celebration and recognition of Data Privacy Day. I am very excited to have our two first guests here with our fireside chat, sans the fire. We don't have a fire right now, but we're going to pretend, but we're going to have a great chat. We have the fortune to have Senator Marsha Blackburn with us from the great state of Tennessee, and so thankful for the senator making time in her schedule to be with us. And certainly my friend and someone who I know well, Kalinda Reyna from LinkedIn, who's their Chief Privacy Officer. Kalinda, thank you so very much for joining. And I will say that LinkedIn is our co-sponsor and our partner in crime when it comes to Data Privacy Day, and we're so thankful for LinkedIn and all the resources and support they provide in making this day great. And with that, Senator Blackburn, I'm going to start with you and get right into it because I know folks want to hear from you and Kalinda. Last fall, Senator, you, along with three other senators, introduced the Setting an American Framework to Ensure Data Access, Transparency, and Accountability Act, the Safe Data Act. This legislation would provide Americans with more choice and control over their data. You've actually been quoted, Senator, as saying Americans need to be able to trust their personal information and presence online. As one of the co-sponsors, can you give us a little insight, Senator, into this effort and the prospect for perhaps other federal privacy reforms?
Oh, absolutely. And thank you so much for inviting me to talk with you all on Privacy Day, because exactly what you're saying, the Safe Data Act would be one of those tools in the toolbox that would allow the online consumer to be able to protect what I call their virtual you, their data and their presence online. At the same time, it would require businesses to be more transparent and more accountable for what they're doing with that data. And then it would give the FTC more responsibility and authority and what they need for enforcement. You know, it's going to be imperative that we root bad actors out and that we have some very clear guidelines, and then we have the appropriate enforcement. One of the things we know is that individuals have moved more of their transactional life online. And because of this, they are demanding that there be more opportunities. If they're going to share something, and this is one of the things with safe data, the emphasis would be on opting in. The consumer makes the choice for something that they want to share, and they have that right of access, that right of correction, that right of deletion, that right of portability for their data. And so this is a bill that I introduced along with Senators Wicker, Thune, and Fisher, and it incorporates elements that have been in legislation that I authored back when I was in the House, the Browser Act, which was kind of the first of a bipartisan privacy bill. And all those years ago, we really got the conversation moving forward about online privacy and protecting the virtual you by having the Browser Act. And, you know, the good thing is, and the reason I'm hopeful that we're going to do something with this is because now not only are more people talking about this as an issue that needs a solution, you have people that are doing something about it. Senator Cantwell has a bill. You've got Senator Schatz. They're working on the Data Care Act. So these are pieces of legislation that are saying, here's the problem that needs a solution. Here are options. And you have legislators who are willing to come to the table and address this.
Senator, so familiar with your background in introducing those pieces of legislation. I would imagine when you introduced it last year, you had a slight advantage in terms of, getting it through the Senate. You have a 50-50 split now. How do you see that impacting this legislation or this act?
Well, Senators McConnell and Schumer are working out what the leadership arrangement is going to be in a 50-50 Senate. And before too many more days, we will have an answer to that. I think it is probably going to be very close to the arrangement that was reached by Senators Lott and Daschle in 2001. And as I said before, this is an issue that people are taking very seriously. And I think the appointment of Christopher Huff, for instance, shows that the new administration is taking negotiations in working the EU Privacy Shield. They're taking that seriously. You look at the EU and the work they're doing around what has transpired with GDPR. And then looking at, they're now saying, let's revisit this and address some of the areas where there was overreach.
Senator, as you're talking, particularly about the 50-50 and the sharing there, I almost feel like we should come out with a new, I'm just a bill, at Schoolhouse Rock, where you explain what happens there. So we'll be looking forward to that, and we know you all are going to be working hard to get it right. Kalinda, let me move to you really quickly. Having the senator speak so thoroughly and robustly about privacy and what's happening here in the U.S. and abroad, am I reading the Chief Privacy Officer room wrong here when I say that you all are pretty encouraged that this conversation is happening on the Hill? Whether you agree or not on particular things, you may be encouraged that it's happening.
Yeah, thanks so much for that, Kelvin, and thank you as well, Senator Blackburn, for your continued commitment in trying to bring the issue of privacy to the forefront, especially in Congress. And I know that this is an issue that many of us as chief privacy officers have been wanting to get the U.S. Congress more focused on over time, and so we appreciate that advocacy. And the attention that it's beginning to get, because as Senator Blackburn said, I think all of us in this field really know the fact that so much of our lives are lived online, and those of us who are in companies really want to be able to help provide our users with clarity and consistency around how their data is used, what we're doing with it, and actually have an agency, which the Safe Data Act puts as the FTC, that can help to enforce and bring some level playing field across all companies around how data gets handled, how it gets used, and help give the consumers greater understanding of what different policies, different settings, different controls mean. So I think this is definitely a movement that is welcomed by chief privacy officers, not only in tech, but across the board, as something we're really looking forward to seeing the Congress do going forward.
Kalinda, thank you so very much for that. And having worked with you over the years, you're the perfect person to have on this call with Senator Blackburn, because I do believe that public-private partnership is going to take us, a lot further. And Senator, I want to pick up from there. If there was ever an issue that called out for a public-private partnership, and I know the partnership thing is, overused sometimes, but in this case, I think it may be relevant for us to do so. But Senator, talk to us a little bit about what you see the private industry and their role in this, in terms of helping Congress to not only understand it, but come up with some answers.
One of the things that industry can do is talk about the need for simplification, rules of the road. There is no CEO or chief privacy officer that wants to be dealing with 50 different privacy regimes from each of the 50 states. What they would like is simplification, one set of rules for the entire internet ecosystem with one regulator, the FTC. Now, if you say, okay, we're going to put the emphasis within one set of rules, one regulator, and everybody's going to play by the same set of rules, then consumers are going to have the assurance that here's a set of expectations. So we're going to know what to expect when we are an online consumer. And then businesses are going to know here is a regulator, and this regulator is going to say, here's the rules, and this is the framework in which you have to work. So making that point, I think, would be very helpful. And one of the things that is important to remember is after COVID arrived last March, people started to going to school online. My telehealth provisions were included in the CARES Act, so people were able to go to the doctor online. And then you had CMS appropriate the rule that allowed for payment for those doctors' visits. So you have businesses that are functioning online, not only with transactions, but different things related to consumer support. So now, whether it's the financial sector, the banking industry, the healthcare industry, educational outlets, or your regular retail outlets, everyone has an online component for transacting not only business, but day-to-day activities. There is more sensitive data that is being moved online. Because of this, it is imperative that we have that succinct set of rules, one set of rules for the entire ecosystem with one regulator.
Well said, Senator. I couldn't agree with you more. And actually, talking about the private sector piece, Kalinda, let me ask you to, this year's theme for Data Privacy Day is, we're in an era of global change. The senator, of course, is, certainly outlining some things that are happening globally, but she's focused here in the United States. Kalinda, can you talk to us about what's happening around the globe as it relates to privacy?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Thanks for that, Kelvin. And to Senator Blackburn's point around how much of our lives we're living online now, even more so than maybe we were a year ago, I think we've sped ahead in some ways. And I, as a mom of 3, can definitely attest to the fact that online school has completely changed just how much data is collected about my kids every day. It's also clearly changed my workspace. But the thing that I will say about what's happening in the world generally is that GDPR helped to kind of set the ball rolling towards greater privacy regulations and awareness throughout countries, not just in Europe, but as we've seen in this past year, we had the Brazilian law pass. We have India proposing a very comprehensive privacy bill. And then here in California, we actually passed a second privacy state law. So it is an issue that I think everyone is beginning to become very conscious of globally. So much of our lives, not just here in the US, but in Europe, in Asia, in Latin America, especially with the pandemic, have switched to online. And so things that we would not have thought of doing almost a year ago online are now things, as Senator Blackburn was referring to, that we do. And so I think what we're going to begin to continue to see is that as technology evolves and more of our lives online evolve, more and more countries and regions are going to become interested in this issue and begin passing laws. And that's one of the main reasons I think many of us are supportive of the US finally having comprehensive federal privacy legislation.
Going to be very important to interstate commerce, right? In terms of having the one set of rules, which, really looking forward to, and something the National Cybersecurity Alliance we talk about often. So I think that's a very good point. Senator, let me come back to you for a moment here. 2014, Congress passed a congressional resolution recognizing Data Privacy Day, which we celebrate January 28th. And talk about international effort. We celebrate it with our friends and colleagues from around the world. we spoke to your office, and there may be an effort to move to a data privacy week starting next year, Senator. I wanted to get your thoughts on that. What do you think?
Well, I think that's a great idea because individuals are so concerned about what is being done with their data, with their virtual you. As I said, they're aware of this now, and they go online, they research something, then they're flooded with junk mail or clutter, and they feel as if they're being tracked without their permission. And it is very unsettling to them. And I mentioned earlier that there is more information share, more sensitive information. This is why you hear the medical community talking about, well, we need to update HIPAA. Yeah. And it would be helpful if we had a national privacy standard for online privacy. Same thing with banking regulations. Each of you have heard from people in the financial services industry that right now we have kind of a little bit of a hodgepodge, that it would be nice to have one underlying law and then update rules and regulations around privacy and data information sharing. So I think because of that, and because of the emphasis of keeping that information private and allowing individuals to have the toolbox to protect their virtual you, that having a week would probably be appropriate.
It at least moves us closer, right, Senator? Maybe yes. They think about a month, but we'll start with a week. So we look forward to talking with your staff about that and you leading that effort. We're so thankful to your staff. And to your point, 5 years ago, 2016, estimates are we had about 15 billion connected devices around the world, and today about 20 billion. My South Carolina math tells me that's about a third jump, right? I'll take that any day, that increase. Well, in the next 5 years, it's going to be at least 60 billion connected devices around the world, and that's a 300% increase over the next 5 years. And so to your point, we're a continuously connected society, and so individuals have to know how to protect that information. And I think a data privacy week would go a long way in doing that. Kalinda, I know at LinkedIn, having worked with you, that you all already celebrate at least a week as it relates to data privacy. But talk to us a little bit more about that and maybe your thoughts on moving to a sort of a national recognition of Data Privacy Week.
Yeah, well, it's a full-on holiday here for the week. We do have some great events. We love partnering with NCSA every year and doing this event. And then what we try to do is bring events to our employees that are really relevant to their lives. So, for example, this year we're going to be doing a session for parents about how to manage your kids' privacy, especially during the pandemic when they're working, doing school from home and everything they're doing is on devices. We have another session on some of the changes happening in Europe and what does it mean to consent online. So these are all things we try to do to make this issue more relevant to our employees and the lives they're living. And so, of course, we would be absolutely in favor of Data Privacy Week. What better way to celebrate the beginning of the new year than Data Privacy Week? But with that, I would really love to see, International Privacy Day is international. It's something that countries all over the world recognize. And I would love to see the US begin to do more in terms of awareness for individuals around data privacy, especially on International Privacy Day. And of course, the future of Data Privacy Week, so that we have an educated group of consumers here around their data privacy rights and what it means to share data online.
Well, I'm an old country boy from South Carolina. I was always told that if you want something, speak it right first, and it'll happen. So, Senator, we look forward to being on Capitol. Listen, we look forward to being on Capitol Hill next year, Senator, and celebrating Data Privacy Week with you and your leadership. So, really appreciate that. And Kalinda, certainly our partners over the years with LinkedIn and you, really appreciate that and look forward to doing that. So, Senator, I'll give you any last words for our audience here today as we recognize Data Privacy Day.
I would just say simply, in recognition of Privacy Day, take a few minutes and on all of your devices, all of your apps, check your privacy settings and do the same thing for your children.
Well said. Well said. Kalinda, any parting words, my friend?
Good advice, and just thank you for everyone who's been joining us for these events today, and for all the work that I know the professionals on this day do to help protect people's privacy.
Absolutely. Again, as I lead the National Cybersecurity Alliance, so very encouraged that we're able to really live out the partnership model, having Senator Blackburn here talking to us from the government perspective, or at least her perspective as she looks at it. And certainly, Senator, very encouraged. God, you have such a robust knowledge of this topic area, and so we're very encouraged by your leadership on the Hill with this issue. Kalinda, we look forward to continuing again to partner with you as well as we go forward. Everyone, thank you so very much for joining us for this fireside chat with Senator Blackburn and certainly with Kalinda. And we look forward to you enjoying the rest of the Data Privacy Day as we continue to have sessions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.